Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
When Brock Lesnar debuted in 2002, he was quickly labelled as the next big thing, which for the most part was a pretty accurate nickname, given that he soon went on to win the WWE Championship, becoming the youngest person to do so in history. However, Brock is now 43, so it's about time we found the next big thing. And Paul Heyman reckons he's found it. Parker Boudreaux is currently an American football player at the University of Central Florida, but it seems that Heyman wants him to quit the gridiron and enter the ring. Boudreaux tweeted to say that 2021 is going to be something special, to which Heyman responded, "His tweet is not a prediction, it's a spoiler. Save this hustle tweet for future historical reference." Fans immediately spotted that Boudreaux looks exactly like Brock Lesnar, and it's not the first time someone in wrestling has tipped Parker to do big things in wrestling, with AEW commentator Jim Ross tweeting in April 2020 that he hopes to see him in AEW one day. This past week's episode of AEW Dynamite was a tribute to the life of Brody Lee, who passed away last weekend at the age of just 41. One of the most touching moments was the surprise appearance of Brody's former tag partner Erick Rowan, who attacked Wardlow to help John Silver pick up the win for his team. Rowan then came to the ring after the match and held up a sign which read, "Goodbye for now, my brother. See you down the road." This was all incredibly touching, but one thing some people wondered once the tears had been wiped away was whether or not Rowan's surprise appearance was actually a sign that he'd signed a contract with AEW. It seems, for now at least, that this appearance was a one-off, as the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter is reporting that Rowan has not signed any kind of long-term contract with AEW as of right now. However, the Observer did not rule out the possibility of him signing something off the back of his appearance, given how much fans enjoyed seeing him for the first time since he left WWE in April. But speaking on fan enjoyment, it seems that WWE's executive producer Bruce Prichard knows exactly what you all want. Bruce Prichard rejoined WWE in 2019, becoming the executive producer of SmackDown, and following Paul Heyman being removed as his role as executive director of Raw, Prichard also took that role. While SmackDown's ratings have seen an unsurprising increase given its move to Fox, Raw's viewership has continued to decrease at an alarming rate. But don't worry everyone, Bruce knows exactly what you all want, and it's the same thing over and over again. Appearing on Sam Roberts' WWE Network podcast, Bruce revealed he thinks fans hate change and new things. People don't like change. They'll focus on what they don't understand, so it's I don't understand it, I don't like it because it's not comfortable. Yeah, we all hated it when Roman Reigns turned heel and Drew McIntyre won the Royal Rumble. It's pretty alarming to think that the person who's in pretty much charge of the entire booking in WWE thinks we don't want to see new things. It's like the entire company is completely deaf to the criticism fans have thrown at them for the last 20 years. But now let's talk about the show that's normally booked well, because it's time for a review of last night's episode of SmackDown in about 5 minutes. Following on from SmackDown's last week of success in the ratings, getting over 3 million viewers on the Christmas Day episode, the show started with the people that ended that last show: Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Paul Heyman, and Kevin Owens. The tribal family came out and Roman admired how great each of them were. Paul Heyman, the most honest and genuine man he's ever had the pleasure of doing business with, who he rescued from irrelevancy. Jey Uso, main event Uso, who he helped throw the spotlight on. And him, the Universal Champion and the head of the table. They were interrupted by KO though, but before he could get a word in, Roman ran him down, saying nobody wants to hear from him anymore. They beat him at TLC and they beat him last week in the cage match. He's done. And while I would normally agree that this feud is somewhat played out now, Owens made the great point that him still standing there meant that Reigns and Jey had failed. They promised to take his career and they didn't. But tonight he doesn't want to face Roman, he's here to fight Jey. After a recap of Big E winning the Intercontinental Championship last week, Big E came out for a match against King Corbin with Sami Zayn on commentary, who, in classic Sami fashion, thinks the whole thing is a conspiracy. After Big E hit the big ending on Corbin after a short match, Sami caused the DQ, and then the Knights of the Lone Wolf beat him down, bringing out Apollo Crews for the save, which gets made into a tag team match, players! In a continuation of Sami having no friends, he mouths off to the Knights of the Lone Wolf, and they and Corbin leave him alone in the ring, allowing Apollo to hit his sit-out powerbomb for the win. Backstage afterwards, Big E tells Kayla Braxton he's going to do an open challenge next week for the Intercontinental Championship, which Apollo immediately accepts on the spot. I don't know if that's exactly how open challenges work. It's like calling dibs before you can see the thing you're dibsing, or calling shotgun before you can see the car, but nevertheless, we're getting that match next week, which should be fun. The Riot Squad faced a team of Natalya and Tamina next, with Billie Kay looking like she was supposed to tag with one of the latter team, but staying at ringside halfway through the match, she began cheering for the Riot Squad instead, and then tried to celebrate with them when they eventually won. What is this story? After that came the women's tag match of Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks versus Bayley and Carmella, which has some genuine star power with 4 of the top women on SmackDown. Unfortunately, the person that got to shine in this match was Reginald, Carmella's sommelier. Yeah, great, just what we wanted. After Bianca was worked over, Sasha came in for the hot tag and ran wild for a while before Reginald, the sommelier, dragged Carmella out of the ring, breaking up the Banks statement, which is absolutely a DQ. Why wasn't he DQ'd? Reginald then gets in the ring and acrobatics his way out of it before backflipping off the apron. Is he a sommelier or a gymnast? Reginald gets up on the apron again but gets slapped off by Banks, who eats a set-out facebuster from Carmella and is pinned. I'm never a fan of the champion losing, and if Carmella's going to be Banks' challenger at Royal Rumble, I think there's a bunch of ways you could have made that happen without Banks eating a pin here. I get that you don't really want to pin Belair either, which really means you shouldn't have booked the match. Instead, make a #1 contendership match triple threat with Bayley, Carmella, and Belair, and have Belair look like she's going to win against Bayley before Carmella steals the pin if you must. I know it's another Bayley loss that way, but it protects your champion and the one rising star you're trying to protect, which are higher priority right now. Also, once again, Reginald should have been DQ'd. He just should have. But then came the most shocking moment of the night. Backstage, walking in with absolutely no fanfare, seen for the first time since SummerSlam, is Sonya Deville. God, I've missed her. And she injects another dose of awesome into the SmackDown women's division. She walks backstage and Michael Cole then tells us she's been reinstated by WWE. That's it. That's her whole return. What the f*** was that? Sonya was one of the people carrying SmackDown in the Performance Center days. Her feud with Mandy Rose was one of the top feuds of 2020. For them to simply say she's reinstated with no explanation completely undermines what that story was trying to tell. And the fact that she didn't even get to come out and insert herself into the Women's Championship picture or do anything of note at all is such a massive waste. I've said this before, but Sonya Deville is an absolute star in the making, and her return, especially after the events that transpired, should have been an amazing kickstart to 2021. But as it is, it's a footnote on a mediocre episode of SmackDown. And WWE knows how impactful big returns can be. Just look at Edge or Roman Reigns in 2020 alone. Why not have Sonya come back at the Rumble, or come back and attack someone? Do something at least. After that, we got the Street Profits doing a 2020 celebration and 2021 predictions ceremony in the ring, and after Ford compares Ziggler to Shawn Michaels, again, Ziggler and Rude come out and beat them both up with a chair. And backstage, their new tag team name is revealed. They are now not Ziggler and Rude, not Rudolph the Red-Nosed Tag Team, they are the Dirty Dogs. Or no, wait, sorry, the Dirty Dogs. That's bad. That's real bad. The Muddy Monkeys, the Filthy Frogs, the Earthly Earthworms, maybe not that last one. Regardless, this name is pretty bad. It's no Slapjack, but it's still not great. Up next was a Royal Rumble showcase match with Daniel Bryan teaming with Otis to take on Cesaro and Nakamura, and the few seconds we got of Bryan and Cesaro was magical. Again, just give me proper Cesaro singles feuds with time on pay-per-view and I'll be a happy man. Bryan managed to clean this up mostly by himself, hitting a running knee on Cesaro and locking in the yes lock on Nakamura for the win. And the main event was Jey Uso versus Kevin Owens. These two are great in the ring and they had a bunch of fire coming out of the gate, just brawling and wailing away on each other. Okay, that's a great start. I'm into this. An ad break? Okay, fine. Can't wait to see the rest when we come back though. After the ad break, Jey Uso goes for a splash immediately, lands awkwardly on his knee, KO hits a stunner, and the match is over. What the f*** is that? Why did all of the match happen in the ad break? Regardless, after the match ends, Owens tries to bait Reigns to come out, handcuffing Jey to the ropes and beating him down. After Reigns still doesn't come out, he unlocks the cuffs and says, "Fine, I'll come to you. On the way, it looks like Owens is going to senton off the Thunderdome screens through Jay through a table, but he's stopped by Reigns coming out of nowhere, and he and Jay beat the ever-loving piss out of Owens with chairs and their fists. They climb up to the third or fourth row of the Thunderdome screens and then chuck Owens off the edge through the table. This was a really cool beatdown, and I hope this results in a little time off for Owens, even for just a week, and Reigns gets to settle himself at the head of the table once again. So that was the show. Let me know what you thought in the comments, because I'll be replying to people from out of nowhere. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter to vote in our poll on a poll match, where 52.4% of you voted the show as good, while 21.9% went one higher with excellent. There was a lot of frustrating things on this episode, Sasha being pinned, Sonya's wasted return, and the lack of a proper main event match, but the show-long story of Roman, as it has for the past few months, carried the rest of the show. There's some solid stuff brewing in the mid-card, and a half-decent build to the Rumble, which makes this overall a good show. What are wrestling's best body transformations of 2020? Press the video to the right to find out more. And what are 10 AEW rumors that may come true in 2021? Press the video below that to find out. Don't forget to subscribe here for daily wrestling news videos and reviews. I've been Corporate Chopper. Jam that jam!